Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
As you know, we are going to publish this session on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, just to let everybody review it if they are interested in the future, and we will also share the presentations. Okay, welcome everybody. Today we are going to speak about the aerospace and defense ecosystems, and this is the meetings that we organize as the European Alliance Against Coronavirus. That is a joint effort between different actors, but it's organized by the European Cluster Alliance. That is what which I preside, and the European Commission in the Euro. Okay. So the scheme is we will have today a representation of different responsibles from this ecosystem. Formally, I don't have any one of them presenting data about the ecosystem, so we will let you speak whenever you prefer about what are your data, also your goals, and how can. One of the questions is how can we help you achieve those goals? Okay, but in order to do that, we need to know each other. So we will present today the activity of clusters in this ecosystem. What kind of clusters are working directly in the ecosystem, but we need to think about a reality that there are a lot of linkings between ecosystem, and for example, today we are not speaking about digital, and for sure, digital is critical for this ecosystem, or we could speak about electronics, a lot of others, okay? So this is also one point to highlight today, that clusters are those agents of the innovative ecosystem that links a lot of different economic activities. Anyway, again, thank you. I have some data about the ecosystem from the ECCP, European Cluster Collaboration Platform. I don't know if I should present them, or will Marek help me in that point? Marek, could you?
Antonio, if you can show the slide, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I will do that.
So basically, as you know, we have the collaboration platform, and at the collaboration platforms there are clusters registered, and in this is something that has been extracted. 78 industrial clusters declaring that they are dealing in this field of aerospace and defense, which according to the data they provide, it's about 20,000 members and about more than 8,000 small and medium enterprises. But of course, the clusters, meaning that they have small and medium enterprises, they have the large enterprises inside, they have research organizations, technology centers. In the broader sense, very much you see France and Italy, Belgium, Spain represented in terms of numbers. These are numbers very preliminary because we are right now in the process of renewing this cluster collaboration, and within the next 3 months we will be aligning it to our framework of ecosystem. So then we will have more data when clusters will be declaring as well in which ecosystem they think they are relevant to and relate to. So the next slide, please, Antonio. We have some of them are usually very good clusters with a gold label, meaning that the labels are about the management of clusters. So they need to fulfill certain criteria in order to get the label. It's about quality of the management of clusters. So we see that these clusters, if they are very good quality, very well managed, and they are as well very often involved in cross-sectoral European cluster partnerships across different areas, not only in different but as well in other So this is the sector which we can think about as well of applications in the civil in dual use in very much in other sectors. So the services provided by the cluster organizations, this is of course they are helping the members to access the public support, but I think the main job is facilitation of collaboration between members, but as well promotion of the activities through marketing of what the members are doing, support of knowledge transfer, and the same of technology transfer, which is for us probably the most important in the next financial perspective. Innovation management as well, international support, so helping members to get access to third countries markets and access to technology services. So let me just introduce this. We know that this sector is experiencing big contraction. From our previous sessions, we know that layoffs are coming. It's a question of the more active support from the public authorities. So many challenges. I hope we have colleagues here from Director General DEFC dealing with space, dealing with defense, dealing with aerospace. I hope they will join our discussion, and I think we can start. And if Krzysztof can then present, then we can launch open discussions. Thank you.
You are very welcome, Marek. So, Krzysztof, I'm giving you the presentation rights.
Thank you. I'm trying to start.
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
Yeah,
Not
but
in mode yet.
I would like to put it in the right. No. How to move?
Oh, you need to go to. Sorry, it's in Polish.
No. I would like to start presentation, but I have you go to meeting exactly from the right side of my computer.
You can go down in the bottom. Yeah, there. No, at the right. That one.
But it doesn't work because I know what I should do. Okay. Where is? Why it is like that?
If not, you can go to the menu, and there is one. No, we are seeing now. No.
I see. This is, but I cannot. I don't know why.
In the menu.
Because the go to meeting close my menu from right side, and I don't know.
In the menu.
Oh, now. Okay, I managed. Good. Should work. Now it's okay?
Now it's okay. It's perfect. Thank you very much. Go on, please.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So just a short introduction, because I am a representative of European Aerospace Cluster Partnership, which is a partnership of more than 40 European clusters. And we have decided together with friends that only one person will present everything. So so today you will have only one speaker, is me, but presented something which is the result of work of many people from many different countries. So my presentation will be not so short as usually presentations of usual participants and speakers on ECA sessions. So just to remind all of you that aerospace and defense industry is one of the most important industrial ecosystems in EU, which is one of those 14 famous circles. Not to spend more time on that, everybody knows it. About EACP, as I said, European Aerospace Cluster Partnership is the organization which was established 10 years ago and is the organization of European aerospace clusters. And we, more than 40 clusters, we have partnership to cooperate between ourselves, to share knowledge, to support innovation, to strengthen relationships, to help our members. So we are trying to be closer, to spread information, to have common projects. And we, as Marek said, clusters in aviation are quite strong in Europe. These clusters, which belongs to EACP, are probably the strongest from all strong aviation clusters. So we have more than 5,000 companies. We represent more than 5,000 companies, 500 research institutions, and even 240 public authorities. We didn't count number of employees which are employed in our clusters, but I can easily say that this is certainly hundreds of thousand employees across Europe. You can see that our clusters represent not only European Union, but we have also, for example, members from Ukraine and Turkey, additionally outside of EU. Our goal, as I said before, but this slide is more concrete, is to support our members by many different measures. So mainly to try to generate some common projects together with our European partners, European colleagues, but also to learn from each other, to increase our knowledge as cluster managers, to deliver a better service for our members, and also to promote more innovative way of performance of our company members. But finally, even we found that we are so big group of clusters that we can even try, and maybe this presentation is part of this job, influence somehow EU policy for our sector. I suppose, I'm not certain, but I suppose that EACP is the biggest sectoral cluster cooperation platform in Europe. We know that there are colleagues also who are dealing with automotive, but as I remember, this automotive clusters association is about 20 members, and we are 45. Okay, now about the COVID crisis for our sector. As you maybe know, but just to remind you, the aerospace sector is one of the hardest negatively impacted by COVID crisis. I think the most similar situation is maybe only in tourism. Aviation travel in the worst moment was reduced 90%. This is as leisure travels as business travels were reduced significantly. Then we have everybody in our value chain affected by the situation, from airlines, airports, aerospace producers, services, etc., and also from every fields of our activity, sales, design, manufacturing. Destruction of capability happened. This is also very dangerous. This is not only the problem of the market, but this is the problem that those negative elements are hitting our foundations of our activity, which is not only financial problem, but also we are losing staff, we are losing skills, we don't continue R&D expenditures in investments. So generally speaking, our sector is very much impacted, negatively impacted. What I am not very much focusing in this presentation of entire sector, as it is called aerospace defense sector, because I am mainly focusing now on this part of the sector, which is aviation. But just to tell you why, because defense, first of all, and space, those two parts of the sector were not so impacted by a COVID crisis, first of all, and secondly, and maybe this is also one of the solution for the future for our sector, that secondly, those two elements of our sector are not very popular for cluster activity. There are mainly big OEMs in defense part, and in space there is a lot of SMEs, but their collaboration is still not so organized like in aviation part of the sector. Okay, here you can see how this situation was bad, and you can also see that situation for European aviation market was the worst from all global markets, much worse than in China, but even worse than in North America. So Europe, from this perspective, is affected the most. Now, just to highlight some negative effects of that, Lufthansa, 22,000 jobs cut, Airbus, 15,000, Rolls-Royce, 9,000, and there are only those big OEMs, but every of our companies are losing jobs, are losing competitiveness, and are losing money. And one thing more related to reduction of our employees. The next wave of reduction is coming because a lot of our companies received support from our national governments to keep employment on a relatively high level. So those job cutting came even having strong support in many countries for keeping jobs. So when these programs, which are probably in a majority of countries, will be finished in March or end of March next year, then we can expect even second big wave of job cuttings. Now, let me show you, because we are an international European organization, so let me show you now three markets, and I think two of them are undoubtedly the most important aerospace markets in Europe because of very strong industry. So let me focus on Germany a few minutes, and then France. So Hamburg Aviation is one of the most important cluster in aerospace defense in Europe. By the way, this is organization which is coordinator of our EACP initiative. So you can see that, for example, this element of employment I just mentioned, about 50% of aerospace workforce in Hamburg is currently under a federal support program. So what could happen when this program would be finished? Then about Airbus, I've just mentioned 22,000, no, 15,000 in Airbus reduction, but reduction of manufacturing about 40%. That's really huge, and we don't know. The additional problem is that we don't know how long it could be, and you can see that only in Hamburg area they reduced 2,000 employees. other elements of the system, Lufthansa Technik, which is MRO operator. Then Hamburg Airport, just look, 2/3 demise in passengers, 99% of schedule passed during the lockdown. So this really distract our business. So what they propose, for example, in Germany for recovery, you can see that that in the short term, and it will be, I will say it many times after. So R&D seems to be one of the field in which we could be supported by our national governments and European Commission to use this time to not to stop investment on R&D, but maybe even to increase the scale of those investments, to use this time to be more competitive at the end and stop our employees, keep them working for the company, for the future of company. But in a long term focus, you can see that once again, innovation is the response, but also urban air mobility. They see it in Germany as some response for the situation in long term, and also green aviation, which is also for other country response. France, undoubtedly the biggest cluster in Europe. This is Aerospace Valley, and they also have a lot of problems because they are located around Toulouse, where Airbus is located. So they are probably they have the highest negative impact from all our European colleagues. So they have in France, which for example we don't have in Poland. I don't know how it is in other countries. They have prepared a national plan to finance recovery of aerospace, which was, as you can see, presented in June. You see that there is 35% of reduction of production A320, and what colleagues from France also expected is consolidation, national and pan-European consolidation after that. As I said before, defense and space sector was not so impacted. So maybe this is also part of the solution for us to increase participation of our members, especially SMEs, in those two areas of activity. Okay, what more in France? As you can see, there are funds, relatively big funds, 1.5 billion, to support SMEs, also to modernize their production. Then 2 billion euro credit guarantees for aircraft purchases, but this could work only in countries like Germany, like Italy, like France, where there are producers of entire aircrafts. For countries like Poland or other countries which are full of tier 2, tier 3 suppliers, it could not work. But if those money will be spent for OEMs, finally our supply chain will go with it. Okay, now a few words, because I'm Polish, so let me use this opportunity to say also a few words about our Polish perspective. Polish aviation industry is still the biggest industrial sector of this sector in Central and Eastern Europe. But from the perspective of participation in Polish GDP is only about 1%, so we can say not a lot. But at the same time, regarding innovations, regarding competitiveness and participation in Polish export, this is one of the most important sector for Poland, because our members of the sector spend about 10% on average their turnover to invest in R&D. So being relatively as a small sector in comparison with entire Polish industry, we are responsible for generation of a huge portion of R&D effort of Poland. We have a lot of foreign investments in Poland, and all main players are present in Poland, maybe only not Boeing. And finally, this is still more than 45,000 workplaces in my country. We have two strong clusters in Poland in aviation. Both of them belong to EACP. Aviation Valley is the biggest Polish aviation cluster. You can see there is more than 30,000 employees, 2 billion euro turnover, more than 140 members. The second cluster I am president of is a bit smaller. We have more than 80 members, but still our members employ more than 15,000 employees. In what we have in Poland, also disaster. Our national airliner, LOT Polish Airlines, lost 100 million euro last year, even before COVID. So for this year, we don't know the final results, but it would be about €500 million losses expected. Now, regarding laid off, we lost till now probably about 2,000 workplaces in the Polish aviation sector, from which 1,300 in Aviation Valley and about 500 in our Silesian cluster. But the problem, as I said before, would be the second wave of cutting jobs. And especially regarding orders, we noticed from our members that there were some members which lost even 50% of their turnover recently because of the situation. Mainly, this is about 20 to 35%. What we propose to do with this as EACP? I think our strength as EACP is that we are so much integrated. We are working together. We are exchanging opinions, proposals. You can see even that we are able to have one common voice as 40 clusters and present it in front of all of you, but also in front of European Commission. So we have to support the system, the sector at present, but also in a longer term. What is our concern today is to support especially SMEs, because that's for us natural. The majority of our members are SMEs, but we are really afraid that SMEs will pay this bill at the end of the story. Even today, it seems that OEMs have the biggest problem. No, but we are really afraid about our SMEs, which first of all could lose jobs, money. Finally, they could be close to bankruptcy, some of them. And we are really afraid that for some SMEs, especially those which are technologically advanced, which have some important share in the market, they could be easy goals for some acquisitions from outside of European Commission, and to put a step inside our market, for example, by our Far East competitors. How EU can help? Yes, first about health protection. We can say this is not a part of our sector, but our sector is very vulnerable for every kind of regulations, for every kind of rules related to health protection. So our sector, especially airlines, should be somehow involved in establishing these rules to keep from one side safety of our passengers, but from other side safety of our business. Because what we observed till now for last month seems that sometimes I think maybe some of you could agree with me that sometimes we exaggerated with the scale of lockdowns, of negative regulations, and we see that the beginning of all this COVID story was really tragedy, and not only because of health reasons, but also because of our reaction on those health problems. Financial support is needed. As you can read on this slide, cash flow, liquidity support, especially for SMEs. We need to have some financial support, like a long period, low interest credits, especially for SMEs. Now, skills, capability protection. So this is everything which we have to remember discussing about sector. So as I said before, and this is a common idea of not only our colleagues from France, Germany, and Poland, but also from other markets. We think that relatively good idea for this time is to support innovation in R&D. So that could be big, huge projects, which could be, as usually it is, led by OEMs. But I think that what the European Commission could help us is to support participation of SMEs via clusters in these big initiatives like Clean Sky, like other big projects, to have to use this time to make our companies more modern, more competitive, more innovative, and our production and our products more green, because that's also something we should remember. This is our goal. And as I said, special focus on SMEs. And SMEs means, frankly speaking, if you would like to go to SMEs, I will summary in 1 minute. If you would like to go to SMEs, you should use clusters, because nobody is so close to SMEs as we are. Okay, and drones. This is something which is very new in our sector. For years, was not considered as an important part of the sector. Still, regarding turnover, it is something marginal. But this part of the sector was not only not affected by COVID crisis, but COVID crisis and all those restrictions show us that drones could be the long-term solution. Still small sector, but growing. So just to inform you that some of European aviation clusters, including Aerospace Valley, for example, colleagues from Denmark, Germany, Aerospace, from Belgium, and my cluster, we established last year European drones cooperation, which we would like to work very closely with EACP. Okay, how to involve clusters? To underline those, there are last 2 slides. Strength of clusters is that we are able to reach SMEs directly, because we are working with them every day. We know those thousands, 100,000s of companies, maybe 100,000s altogether for clusters for our aviation industry. As was said, this is tens of thousands SMEs. But there is no better way to reach them than to use clusters. Then, as clusters and in our cooperation, we are able also to coordinate actions across many European countries at the same time. So we are able to participate in big R&D international programs, and we are able also to join not only SMEs, but OEMs, which are very often members of our clusters, with also research institutions to build together society which is able to perform as really very ambitious goals. Yes, and the last words. What is needed? Let's consider to use this time not as a complete shutdown of our industry, but as a time for modernization. There is a lot to do with digitalization, especially SMEs once again, to launching Industry 4.0, to launching eco-friendly solutions in production, in organization of production. This is this time, once again, if would be some financial support available for this kind of effort, clusters could be really good partner to coordinate this effort together with SMEs. Even, for example, in Poland, we are considering this kind of a project for clusters, that we clusters will be responsible for investment, which will be afterwards, those infrastructure will be used by our SMEs, even not being real estates belongs to those SMEs, but belongs to a cluster. And new products, as I said, for example, UAVs, space system, and defense system. Here, situation, in my opinion, for clusters is the most difficult. I don't know where is solution about space and especially defense. Maybe there should be some specific actions devoted to big OEMs in the European defense sector to convince them to take more SMEs for cooperation with them. Thank you very much. Sorry for being so long, but I have this privilege to speak on behalf of 3 people at the same time. So thank you so much.
You are very welcome, Christoph. It has been a very complete presentation. I'm sure that it has generated comments. And anyway, now the floor is open not only for questions and comments, but also for a contribution from other attendants. It could be cluster, it could be companies, it could be whoever is with us. So we have something like 20 minutes for that. Who is the first? Who wants to comment or to question?
Antonio, if you want, I can briefly make a comment from, as I said, the aeronautic part of the ecosystem. So Jean-Pierre Lenz from the European Commission, DG DEFI. I think we have well understood the situation of the sector. We had indeed a big exercise involving the commissioner, meeting CEOs, but also, as I mentioned, we were working in close cooperation with EACP. We organized a workshop with industry in July to get feedback also from the base. EACP contributed strongly to the workshop. So I think we have a good understanding of the situation, and we acknowledge this very difficult situation for the ecosystem, and especially for what represents more than 50% of the turnover of the sector, and in consequence, it's the industrial pillar of the sector, which is the aeronautics side of it. The 2 main issues which were mentioned, so the drop in demand because of air travel being basically stopped, and airline being in very strong difficulties on one side, and the need then to support airlines, and on the other side to see innovation as a support to get out of the crisis, or at least bring some contribution to the in particular the employment problem, and the risk to lose skills has been quite well understood. As you know, the Commission made a proposal for a recovery plan. Already in the original proposal, most of the money was channeled through member states. This is even more the case today after the council in I think it was late July during the summer period. So I think this is very important to understand that the national plans will have a very big role to play. And I would really like to encourage everybody, and in particular through the cluster organization, and perhaps some cooperation inside member states in the different cluster to support, and to make your case to your different member states. You mentioned France, which indeed very early put in place a plan for aeronautics. Now, as I said, in the recovery plan, member states will be able to present plan for the recovery of their industry. I think it's a bit to each of you to fight in your own member states to be able to get a part of this plan focusing on aeronautics. So this is perhaps a message I want to pass today. Not much is left. There is things left at EU level. I would say that Commission can do, but it's really now the moment to focus on the national plan. Member states will start preparing them, and it's the moment to really go and ask for the national support, which, as I said, is part of the, this money will come from the European recovery plan. You may have in France additional plan built on national money, and that's of course very important as well. But here it's the occasion now to get a part of the money which has been put in place by the European Commission through the member states. To come back to innovation, this is well understood. Unfortunately, we have to be also realistic. Despite the Commission proposed an increase of Horizon Europe budget, this has not been, let's say, supported by the member states. So we have to see. But there is little, let's say, hope to have a big increase of the Horizon 20 budget. Okay, we have, I heard very well the call for SMEs. I know very well the issue of SME participating in research, European research project. I've been, in fact, for 10 years in charge of bringing SMEs, more SMEs in aeronautics research. The challenge there is on one side, and SME need to be realistic, to have a useful participation. Sometimes you may get some money from big program, and now we have the Clean Sky and these big programs. You need to find your right place, otherwise the contribution, you may get some contract, but it might not be useful. So this is an important element to identify what could be really for the SME, a useful participation in this big program. And the other challenge, which needs also to have some preparation from the SME side, is that it's always the same problem. We have on one side huge project, and now I have to say there is a focus to deliver, to get results, concrete results, and you were speaking about green aircraft, so at the end to have a greener aircraft on the market. And the contribution of a small SME to the next greener aircraft may be seen as a bit small. And so this is also important to identify, I would say, areas where there could be a clear, let's say, an attractive added value to be able to, let's say, to participate in this context. But as I said, I think this is, despite the probably we should not expect an increase of budget despite of our efforts. The call for SMEs is understood, and the reason also to maintain skills into the industry. Perhaps last point, which is also very speaking to me, because I'm responsible for drones as well, and since 7 years I've been involved in the development of the drone business and now the European drone regulation. I'm very happy to see that now there is a beginning of coordination between drone clusters. I have to say, I already mentioned this subject to ASCP, to Anna Masson several times, to Aerospace Valley, to a number of clusters. And up to now, I have to admit there was little interest or in the different cluster or not enough interest on the drone subject to be able to really start cooperation. So I'm very much encouraging that. I would be happy to continue later to discuss or to address and see what we can do. One element is perhaps that indeed there are now some drone, specifically drone clusters. So you may have drone activities in the bigger, let's say, aeronautic cluster member of ASCP. Sometimes you have specific drone cluster which sees the light. Perhaps the challenge there is to bring all of them in a coordination. So some may be linked to big aeronautic clusters, some may not. So there is perhaps a challenge. Now, drone at the end will not save. It's a very promising sector, but indeed it's a small sector and will remain. Small compared to aeronautics. A drone and an A320 are and will remain two different things. But still, it's very important, and I would be ready to discuss and see what we can do, if we can do something more on the drone side to help industry to organize themselves. Now that we have the new regulation, there is perhaps a need also to promote these new rules and see how they can beneficiate to the sector. So thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Wonderful. There are very interesting topics that you have opened. About the national plans, I cannot agree more. We are working, animating, and sharing information between our national networks and our clusters across Europe, because it's clear that you are right. We need to propose and to expose to the national authorities our capabilities, propose solutions, and we need to convince them that the cluster is a good tool for their goals. But I will give the word to Christophe just to comment about everything.
No, I'm not going to monopolize everything. I suppose there is a lot of people who would like to say. But regarding drones, as I wrote on the chat, it is a very new subsector from our aerospace European aerospace perspective. So maybe that's why was not so active recently. But my observations, not only from Poland but also from my colleagues who are dealing with drones, are that this could be really very interesting subsector of aviation, which could grow even faster because of all these COVID consequences. I not mean only COVID as a crisis this year or maybe even next year, but about the change of mentality also of our customers and many things. Generally speaking, robotics, autonomous systems in many fields, not only in aviation, will be more and more present. So I think we as Europe, we should try not to lose the distance between us and especially Chinese, who are really excellent, especially in these small drones, and US. We should really focus maybe some specific programs only on drones development. So that's my comment regarding drones. And regarding what was said by Jean-Pierre with SME's participation in R&D programs. Indeed, it is extremely difficult to deal for these big OEMs who who have a turnover in billions of euro, with small SMEs which have, I don't know, 50 employees or even 100. And that's why, in my opinion, this is very important role, and this role should be understood not only by clusters and not only by our OEM partners, but I think also European and national institutions, that clusters can play extremely important role to coordinate common effort of many SMEs. So I could imagine that if there is a big R&D program, cluster or group of clusters could be a partner on the level with OEMs representing tens of different SMEs from even many countries at the same time. And then we would be, as a cluster, responsible for coordination, which is very difficult work, but nobody could do it if not clusters. That's my comment. Maybe there are some others who would like to comment it.
Okay,
I see
from
other countries.
Excuse me, if I may add something to Krzysztof, what Krzysztof said. I think that the drones are, I agree that they are a new sector and they will grow probably very rapidly, but we need to, as aviation community, we need to look at the drones from the perspective of multidisciplinary approach. So I mean, the drones, in my opinion, are the way to collaborate with other sectors, because there will be used, the aviation part of the drone industry will be used only as a tool to provide specialized services to the cities, such as urban air mobility.
Please, whenever you speak, that is wonderful, state your name and your...
I'm sorry, Sylwester Wyka, Institute of Aviation.
Thank you very much, just to know who is speaking. Thank you. So, I saw a comment from Frank Jansen about the SMEs. Will you comment?
Yes, thank you very much. So my name is Frank Jansen. I'm with the NAG, that is the aerospace cluster in the Netherlands. I would like to focus a bit more on the on SMEs and R&D. We have set out a survey to the SMEs to ask them the question: how can R&D help you to survive this this crisis? And they came up with numerous ideas, and we asked them to generate these ideas on the basis of making aviation more sustainable and enlarging the competition with parties outside of Europe, because that's where we want to focus on in the coming years. And I was really surprised with the ideas that came out of these SMEs. And the ideas are all focused on improving their production, of course, to make it more green, and focused on giving better product and services to their customers, all in the green area. But so far they have not been able to easily answer to questions that came as an let's say as a request for proposals, because the threshold in many cases is too high for them. And I fully agree with Christoph. That is where we as clusters can play a very important role. So in order for them to make the support let's say appropriate to give them a survival, they're asking for high TRL R&D, so not the fundamental research and development, but higher TRL, leading to fast implementation of their ideas. So make a demonstration, prototypes really fast to show the customer that it works. And the second thing they saw as a prerequisite for making that successful is that their contribution must be in kind. So not something that, let's say, where they have to put money in order to have, let's say, research establishments, for instance, do the research. No, they want to do it in-house with the SMEs and provide in-kind a contribution. And for, let's say, I even asked them, okay, how much money in terms of value of this in-kind contribution are you willing to spend? And this was also really interesting to see, because they together, only the SMEs in the Netherlands in aerospace, wanted to contribute as their own contribution to the R&D more than 10 million a year. So that means that there is huge opportunities, but you need to have a system, a process that will reach these SMEs and motivate them to come up with these ideas. So I think, yes, Christoph, it is absolutely possible that that R&D is essential for the SMEs and to maintain the value of their knowledge within our ecosystem of aviation, because otherwise it will disappear forever. It will help, but it needs to be higher TRL and in-kind contribution of the SMEs. And I can imagine that the clusters are essential to motivate the SMEs to come with ideas, because otherwise it is too complex for them to fulfill all the necessary requirements. That was my remark. Thank you.
Very welcome, Frank. Thank you for your comments. And it would be wonderful if you could share those ideas with us at, I don't know if by email or for any other way. It's very interesting. Any comment? Jean, France, yes, sorry, Christophe or? No, mute.
Sorry, I have a request on chat from Jamie Quesado. So I can answer publicly, not only in written. Jamie asked how I consider we can involve SMEs in national defense expenditures, this part of the sector. Let me honestly tell you that I was 2 years CEO of the biggest Polish defense group with tens of thousands employees and turnover in billions. So I was also on the other side of the wall. It is for big defense OEMs, it is really they don't have this kind of thinking to work with OEMs, especially in defense sector. Defense sector is very closed, or those companies are considering that everything is very top secret. Everything should be kept by themselves inside of the company, and they really very rarely are open for the cooperation with SMEs. What can we do? Once again, clusters could be the answer. Big, well-organized cluster could be the partner to discuss with a big defense OEM on behalf of its SMEs. And also, I think that public support could be conditioned to this big OEMs, or even the public procurement system for weapon could be organized in the way that some participation of SMEs is expected, and then those big defense player could be somehow forced to work with SMEs. I know that somebody could say, "Oh, this is not very liberal approach. This is not typically free market approach." But let's tell me, some of you, what is defense purchasing? What is free market in defense purchasing? Nothing. So if country and government spends money on defense equipment, could expect from those who are supplying also strong cooperation with SMEs, at least stronger, because part of the answer, as I said before, for this COVID crisis would be to move some part of capacity from typical civil aerospace, also to defense, to space, and to drones, because those people could work in some other subsectors of our sector easily, and then companies could keep them for the better times when situation in civil aviation would be improved.
Thank you very much, Christoph. It's time to close, okay? But I cannot resist the temptation to mention some instruments, okay? Because it's very clear that the investment that the governments, the European governments, European responsibles of the national governments, regional, made on SMEs need to be profitable or useful, okay? So I need to say, cluster make that role, align the strategy, the sector strategy with the actions and projects from the SMEs, and we are able to control the quality of the projects, the development of the projects, and to ensure that they have a long-term life. Okay, that's part of what is done through goals like the InnoSoup, okay, that use cascade funding to support SMEs on developing real and focused projects useful for the sector, and to help them to achieve the final objectives of the goal. So I will encourage everybody to think about that. Okay, and with that, I would like to close. Thank you, Jean-Pierre, for your participation, your sharing with us. Thank you, Christophe, and all your network for working on this presentation and the proposal that you made. There is one invitation from Jean-Pierre Lenz to continue speaking about drones, so I will say we need to work on that with you. Thank you, and we will keep in touch about how to make next step if you want. Okay, and with that, thank you. Tomorrow we will speak about national recovery plans, and the country invited is France. So it could be also one day to speak some minutes about this same ecosystem. Thank you, everyone. Bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.